Let me say welcome to those of you listening to Classic Radio, 105.5, 105.9 on the FM dial. Those of you viewing GBN TV, welcome inside of the mid-morning buzz. It's Friday, the 4th day of April 2025. On the mid-morning buzz this morning, we have, of course, Miss Lydia Brown. She's representing the Grenada, Food and Nutrition Council. And let me say good morning to Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And you're certainly welcome. So our focus conversation this morning. There's been lots happening with the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council. We know there's been the quiz competition that's been taking place. I've been following it a wee bit, and we are getting to the finals level of it right now. Tell us about how the process thus far. How has it been going from the initial starting of the competition this year? You know, I had followed it over the years.
Yes.
And, you know, it's always nice to listen to the youngsters. You know, we've been throwing the questions out, especially the various questions all related to food and everything. That's and how they respond. It's always been interesting. I remember being on another radio station, and we used to like carry it live for folks when you used to be in the that Red Cross building there and so forth over the years, and it's always interesting to hear the youngsters participate with that. Yes. Let's just make a small tweak back. Over the years, the quiz competition, how has it been? How have you seen the overall development of it, especially for youngsters who have been participating and so forth?
I'm going to tell you, this quiz started back in the day when the Caribbean Food and Nutrition Institute was in place. And when Caribbean Institute went out in 2009, the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council made a decision, that's before my time, to continue the quiz. Yeah. And so the quiz was being carried out for secondary school students.
Yes.
But in 2019, I think it was 2019, we decided to add a primary school because it's important to get the children to get an interest in nutrition and health at a very young age. And what we've seen over the years is that the primary school, we have more primary schools. For instance, we had 19 primary schools this year that participated in the preliminary round.
Yes.
And whereas we had much less of the secondary schools, and I'm not sure whether it's the timing. We're not really getting that feedback, but this year we're hoping that we will have a very vibrant secondary school based on the schools that are involved in the final round. So we basically just have the children come in. They do a quiz like a regular setup, and they're thrown questions, and the schools that come out with the highest scores are the ones that will move on. We have different zones.
Okay.
So depending on where the schools are, that depicts the zone, and then from each zone you pick the students, the school that emerges on top, and that's the school that moves on to the final.
Okay. All right. And you certainly have seen it grown over the years.
The
interest base in particular among the young...
particularly for the primary schools. The
interest base has been very high.
Very high, very high. The teachers are they're very interested. The students are very interested, you know, and it's good because they go over information, which means that is something that you're solidifying in their minds. Yes. So it's not just coming out to win a competition and to get a gift, but it's something that you're instilling in them as well. We have some of the teachers that are now teaching students food and nutrition were students and participated
in the
and participated
interesting.
So that you have that momentum, you know, carrying on.
All right, so tell us, we in 2025, we know we're getting down to the final. I see there are already 3 schools who have already settled in already.
Yes.
Tell us a wee bit about that.
Yeah, well, we have for the primary schools, the schools that are moving forward are champions from last year, which is the Limes Mennonite.
Yes.
And then we also have the SDA, Seventh-day Adventist School in St. George's, Seventh-day Adventist School in Montrose.
Okay.
We have Hillsborough Primary School, St. Patrick's RC, and Hermitage Government. So those are the schools that will be in the primary school, and that will be next week Thursday. At the Youth Center at Monroe.
All right.
So we have the secondary school competition that's coming up on the 29th of this month. And the schools there will be Bishop College, which will be defending their championship.
Yes.
We have Hillsborough Secondary, so we have 2 secondary schools
out of Carriacou.
That's
so good. That's good.
We have Grenville Secondary School, and we have Presentation Brothers College, which in my almost 10 years at the council, this is the first time Presentation Brothers College has participated.
All right, great.
So we're getting new schools, and as we get new schools, maybe we'll see others getting back the interest and coming on to make the secondary school quiz much larger.
Now, the finals you spoke about for the primary school, what's the momentum like? If you have been having correspondence and so forth with those primary schools, what the momentum is like for those who have gotten to the finals?
Yeah, the schools, the children are elated. I mean, after we're trying to publicize it. People are responding. We have the government system. They have this Viva Engage. We've been putting it out there. We've been getting responses from people. So people are really interested. And I'm hoping that they're not just interested by seeing the flyers, seeing the promotion, but they would come out.
Yeah.
Because we need people to show nutrition is so important, nutrition and health. It is practically the foundation of every being. And so if we have people come out and show the children that they're interested in seeing, just like we do with Knowledge Bowl, like we do with the Glen debates, come out and show the children, give them that encouragement. And so, that they would feel a reason why they would want to do it. And that's why I think some of the teachers that were in years past are now having their students participate, because they knew all all the workings, the hard work, the adrenaline rush and all of that.
Those are little bragging rights that comes in there also.
That's right. Back then with CFNI, they used to, I think, travel to one of the other islands. No, we don't have that because it's a Grenada-based quiz, right? When it was regional, then you might go to a different country for the final. So I think maybe that is where some people may have stepped back because we're not getting a trip. But we get in. But they get in. There's always that little
incentive that has to come into play.
Yes, we have good gifts for them.
Yes.
We have good gifts. We have some sponsors, people that we have sponsored Bryden and Miners that print our certificates every year at no cost. We have True Blue Bay Resort. We have the gentleman, Mr. Singh, on the Lotus Lane that made his contribution. He has a wholesale place, I think.
It's Ram or something.
Rams, that's right. He made a contribution. We have Huggins. We have Glen. Well, we have we have a few places. Too much to mention. But we have quite a few places. National Lottery Authority that is supporting us, and then of course we have Mikey Live that is always there to help us get the get it out, carries it live, that's right? Great. So we do have some support. Support has changed over the years in terms of which organizations are supporting us, but we continue to have support, which I think is a great thing, that to show that the industry, the work, the business places are interested in our nation's children.
And that's good, because, the children's overall education, and when you refer to, and being part of the Grenada Food Nutrition Council, it also shows what they're interested in health. Matters of referring to their health is also important.
That's right.
What would you like to see, of course, you being part of the Grenada Food Nutrition Council, what would you like to see the growth of the competition goes to? Where would you like to see it go to?
Well, really, I would like, first and foremost, I think I would like to see more schools participating. And maybe we can even go on to tertiary level, which is like TAMCC, because they do have a nutrition program there. I would like to see that program grow. The program had was stagnated for a while, and then it grew, and we would like to be able to incorporate that level of students there. But I also want us to be able to probably, over the years, look at putting together not just a quiz, but, they have the cooking competitions and let the schools come up against each other.
Have a little more broad-based.
That's right. And we have a plan for a little later on this year that we have what we call a high school snack attack. And that's going to come on where we're going to have the schools work along with whether it's parents or community members or whoever it is, to come up with healthier snacks for schools using our natural local products. And then we'll have a judging with that. So that's kind of an extension from our quiz, and to get the students involved, not somebody just making something and bringing it into the school, but they're taking the initiative to create something.
Actually participating in the preparation and everything.
That's right. We will collaborate with the Produce Chem Lab, who can give them some advice in terms of their preservation techniques and that type of thing, and on the processing. And hopefully, whoever emerges, hopefully we get more than one product, but whoever emerges with the best product, we will have people judging.
Yeah.
And so we don't just want Food and Nutrition Council judging. We want to have some students there judging. We want to have some people that are not food related judging, as well as people who have some knowledge of food, right? Yeah. And so hopefully that when these products come forward, somebody, if not the school themselves, but somebody will be able to take this and work it as a business.
And we never know, we may have some young entrepreneurs developing all of that.
Yes, as we work towards cleaning up the school environment, because we need to do that for our children. There's too much junk on the school compound.
I mean, it's great ideas. It's just about of getting them implemented and going over and getting the youngsters interested in wanting to participate.
That's right.
That's a key factor there. So I certainly hope all the best for the finals of the competition coming up. The schools who have made it there, certainly hope they come out and do their best.
Yes.
Both the primary and secondary schools, and see who will be the champions this year.
That's right.
It's certainly going to be an interesting one. Yes. Let's talk a wee bit about the overall work of the council thus far. How have things been going in the overall work of the council thus far?
It has been going fine. But we still have, of course, a lot more work to do. I think the council, we have different programs, right? So we do have a community-based program where we do community programs, being education as well as training. Yes. We do have an officer who provides training in food preparation and so on. That actually addresses the utilization pillar of a food nutrition security policy. We have a draft that was done in 2024. I think it's awaiting being presented to Cabinet. And so we utilize our local foods to be able to show people what they can do. So we've done things like a sweet potato mayonnaise. We've done soursop chutney. We heard of mango chutney. Yeah. We don't typically think of soursop in that light. We've had that. We've had utilization of non-traditional crops where we would use things like the stalk of the banana plant, which is something that we cut and throw.
Yeah.
We've also used the red flour, the flour where the bananas actually come from. We've used that as well, what we call crotronil or ratchet, that we use sometimes to wash hair and this type of thing. We've used that. They use that in a lot of Spanish countries in dishes. And so we've used things like that because we're looking not just to utilize our traditional foods, but we have to look at food waste as part of food security. So the things that we are throwing away, we grow beet. Yeah. And then we cut the top of the beet and we throw it away. And we sell the root. And there are benefits to the beet greens itself. So it's our work to kind of show people how they cannot waste food. Yeah. Because look at what's happening in the world. There is a chance that we really would have to rely fully on our production in order for us to be able to sustain our livelihood. That is important.
Tell me about some of the concerns that the council are having, especially when it comes to food in general, in what we as the elderly and as young people in Grenada. What are some of the concerns that the council has at which something different could occur?
Yes, well, we do have a surveillance system as well in the council, and under that surveillance system, we focus on children on 5 and under. Yeah, and what we have been seeing over the years is that in recent years, I should say. In times gone past, we were dealing with undernutrition, children that were underweight. And it's not that it's not existing now, it's still there. We still have hunger in Grenada.
Really?
But we are seeing that children are getting heavier. Yeah. Children are getting heavier, and in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, we've seen children as being stunted, especially our boy children are being stunted. And stunting is an indicator of long-term undernutrition, which means you are not growing like your peers, like children your age are growing. And that is an indication that the nutrition isn't sufficient. What we also see is that we have among our very young children, the infants, we're seeing that there's like 50% of our children 1 year old, when they're screened for anemia, they're anemic. Yeah. And that can interfere with the cognitive development of the child. So if we don't correct that very early, then we'll see that when school comes into play, the child may not be performing the way they need to, but the damage was done before the age 2. Yeah. So these are some of the things that we're seeing, and we're seeing that it's easier, things are convenient, so people tend to buy things that are
easily available and available to them, even though it's less nutritious.
That's right. And now it's easy for us to do that. Yeah. But what we really have to think about is the long term. how am I contributing to my child's health?
Is it that people are just don't care? If you would, just want to be just seeing this in a broad base where people just look for the more convenient way of feeding themselves.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's that they don't care. I think we are so busy. Years gone by, you had mom stay home, dad went to work. Now you have mom and dad working, and you also have a lot of single-headed households.
Yes.
So which means you have to take care of the kids, but you also have to work. And so because of the limited time, people may just gravitate towards what is easiest. It's not so much that they don't care, right? But we have to take a little time to put something into what we want to get out.
All right.
What you put in is what you get out.
Tell me, the importance of proper nutrition from the Concord's point of view, the importance of people pay attention to what they eat and so forth, and making sure that their nutrition is under to the point that they can function properly. The importance of that.
That is... It's probably the most important thing in life. The thing is that you can sustain yourself maybe for a few months by just drinking water.
Yeah.
But after a while, the body is going to shut down.
It's going to call for something different.
Yes, because you need your your micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals, and so you need to have energy. How are you going to get energy to do anything if you're not eating sufficiently? So there's food on the market, but there's food and then there's nutrition.
Yeah.
So if I eat something what we categorize as an empty calorie food or junk food, it's food.
Yeah.
But it's not giving me the nutrition that I need to get. And when we consume a lot of these foods, which we are doing, what end up happening is that we would end up in problems with chronic conditions. And those chronic conditions is what are on the top 10 causes of death for Grenadians. For many, many years, all the data that I have, we have things like cancer, hypertensive disorders, we have heart disease, diabetes, the high blood pressure, and I think based on my practice, I think that I'm seeing a lot of people coming down with chronic kidney disease. Mm. I think there is an increase. I don't have a number to prove that, but just by what I'm seeing from, my exposure to people like that, because kidney disease is not something that you just... how I feel my kidney hurt is not like that, so unless you go, that's right, it develops, and unless you go to a doctor, unless you're to the far end stage where you start seeing swelling to your legs and those type of things, then you don't realize that something is wrong. So most of the time when somebody get picked up, they're at stage 3, you go stage 1, and then you have 2 stage 3s and a stage 5. So by the time it's picked up, you're already stage 2, 3A or 3B.
At that advanced stage where there's minimal could be done now.
Well, I can't say that because even at stage 3, I have had persons that I work with.
Yes.
And sometimes hydration heavily influences what you see in the lab results. And I have had, if I may dare say, I have had some improvements with people who have, at stage 3, have kind of switched over to more plant-based proteins.
And seen some positive results.
Yes, I've seen positive results with that. I know there's some research on that. I don't think I can say that definitively that is what will happen to every person, but I have seen that with some people. So I think, and chronic diseases are on the rise, and we're looking forward to get our new hospital, but I'm hoping that even when we get that new hospital, that we don't have the beds filled.
Yeah.
Because I remember working at the General Hospital, and after holidays, after Christmas, after the carnival, and so you would hear people get on the air and say, my daughter was in the hospital, my son was in the hospital, they had him on a chair. But nobody is asking themselves, why would your daughter or your son or your husband or wife have to be on a chair? Because all the beds are filled.
Yeah.
Because what we do during the festive season has placed a huge burden on the hospital system, and we don't have the capacity to hold the number of sick persons. So I think it's very important for us. That is why it's very important for people to think about health, and think about health year round.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do a little bit, but not do too much where you're actually is being detrimental to your health, to your family members' health, and to encourage each other to do better.
A question that always comes to mind with me that, we hear conversations like this all the time. Mm-hmm. There's nothing new that someone could tell you in relation to eating proper and making sure that you have the proper nutrition. Mm-hmm. But why folks are still hesitant in terms of feeding themselves properly, from your point of view?
Well, I wouldn't say from my point of view, but I could tell you from what I'm hearing. Mm-hmm. Foods are... our natural local foods tend to be a little more costly.
Yeah.
And so people would buy, if I can spend $10 and buy some rice and buy some, whereas I can buy and feed my family, whereas I take $10 and I get 2 small, maybe 1 sweet potato.
Yeah.
Am I going to buy that 1 sweet potato, or am I going to buy that 2 pounds of rice and something to go with it? You understand? So, and this is all part of food security, and the Ministry of Agriculture is diligently working to see how we can upscale our production. We may or may not be able to reach the levels that we actually aiming to because of the topography of Grenada and get into some of the hills and so to do the planting, and so I'm not sure, but we can definitely maximize what we have. We always pride ourselves on having good soil. So if we're able to upscale that, then prices may come down. We know what it is when you have tomatoes on the market and everybody is selling tomatoes, and you can get tomatoes $5 a pound.
Yes.
And then you come Christmas time and you
it's
have
unavailable now,
$9, $12 a pound. We had some over the Christmas holidays. We were doing some baking, and the gentleman went to the store to get some eggs and came back and said, "Miss Brown, I paid $21 for a dozen eggs. $21 for a dozen eggs. No, not for the tray.
Yeah.
$21, right? And I'm saying we have a poultry policy now. And so they're working towards upscaling the amount of poultry and poultry products that we put out. So eggs, hopefully we wouldn't have that shortage of eggs in the not too distant future. And hopefully, and people utilizing different parts of the chicken, like we took the chicken liver, we did a couple sessions with that, the chicken livers. We had put it on the school menu and someone said, take it out. But I was like that when I first encountered chicken liver because it's just not something that I ate in my house. Yeah. But when I tasted it, it was really good.
Once it's prepared properly.
Yes, it was really good. And so we, the gentleman made a pizza. And you know how you put like pepperoni or, some type of ground meat or something? Yeah. He put the chicken livers on there. And the children ate it and they enjoyed it. And then when he said it was chicken livers, everybody wanted to just get it out of their system because it was chicken livers. But when we go to the grocery store to look for chicken livers, it means that people are buying it. I don't know who buying it, but they're buying it because one store told us, well, we just got 50 pounds in, but if you had called, it's all gone. Yes. I'm not sure whether it's the hotels. I'm not sure who is purchasing it, but people are purchasing it. Again, we're talking about food waste because these are things that we typically take and just, just discard. But there's so much for us to just look at what we have in Grenada and to see what we can use and how we can use it in different ways. You get kind of bored when you're eating the Sunday food.
We say
is
that same old recipe all the
yes, time. But if we have our Facebook page, we have our website. If you go on there, we have a lot of different types of recipes that people can get to see how they can make our local.
Eat and tweak things a wee bit and but still be in a nutritious form.
That's right. Just make it different.
All right.
Make it different.
My final bit of conversation I want us to get into this morning is reference to childhood obesity. Mm-hmm. It's folks may say it's some parents will say, I like to see my son and daughter looking nice and fat. Mm-hmm. You understand? Mm-hmm. But doesn't necessarily mean that they are healthy. Yeah. Even though they are that. The importance of parents paying attention to that when their sons or daughter get to that level. Mm-hmm. Especially when in terms of the obesity, especially school age.
Yes.
Because now it hinders you in certain way or the other. Mm-hmm. You tend to participate less in sporting activities because of your weight. It leads to sometimes some form of bullying because of the fact that he's kind of big or you're big and they call you names. Now you start to withdraw yourself and so forth because of that. Mm-hmm. Now, talk to me about that. Obesity, especially in a childhood age, and how important it is for parents to pay attention to their children when they get to that stage. You may see the signs. Him or her may start eating more than usual or eating things that as a parent they shouldn't be, but somehow you permit it. And and then you see the after effects of it now in terms of the weight gain and so forth. Talk to me a wee bit about that.
Well, I think it's important for parents to start from inception, right? So once the child is in the womb, but once the child comes out of the womb, making sure that they breastfeed, because breastfed child is less likely to be overweight later on in life. What we also notices that we have a good bit of children who are being born low birth weight. And low birth weight infants, there is some evidence out there that they tend to be heavier later in life as well. So these are some of the things that is the reason why pregnant women need to make sure that they're eating properly, that they nourish themselves, not the little potato chips. And so that's not what you're nourishing yourself with, right? So that's important. Once a child gets into the daycare centers does not allow the typical packaged snacks and so to come in. So the child goes through daycare and they're good. When the child gets into preschool, most of the preschool do not allow some of the things. Some of them do, but most of them don't. But when the child gets into the primary school level, now they have money.
Yeah.
Now the foods that are being sold in and around the school is not so great. So they tend to purchase those that they have that spending power, right? Gone are the days when children, well, in my day, you get 5 cents, 10 cents for your break time, and you could buy one thing. If you were buying a fudge, you were buying one fudge. And then when you buy that fudge and 3 of your friends came and saw you with that fudge, so because they don't have any money, that's right. So you just get a little bit of it and you were happy.
Yeah.
And you were happy to share. But now children will have a whole packet with 4 big ones in it.
And it's all mine.
And it's all mine because everybody else has money and everybody else is buying. You have children in the morning not leaving home with breakfast and buying some Kool-Aid water in a bag and some fried chicken and fried bakes, and that's breakfast. And then they go to lunch and it's the same things that are available to them that are very rich in fat, very rich in salt, some of them very rich in sugar depending on what they get, and so they're consuming these things. When these children eat these foods and they're eating it 5 days a week, they're in school, right? And we really would support and hope that people will support us that for that 5 days in school and that hours in school, these children don't need to be exposed to all of this stuff. If you want them to get it after school, then it lessens the amount they will have because it's less hours after school before they could go down to bed, right? How much can they take in? But if they can get it at break time and lunchtime and after school, and then when they get to the house, that's 4 times a day they have access. Again. That's right.
And some parents give it to them in the morning for breakfast.
Exactly. And then the size of the drinks. Yeah. So you will have a small child, maybe a child in grade 5 or so with a big drink, loads of sugar in it, right? And we see it as we're treating the child.
Yeah. Well, being hungry, so you think it's okay.
Yes, but you don't use food to treat as a treat.
Yeah.
You don't use food as a treat. You don't use food as a reward for children. There are so many other things there you can give them, not food. Food should be for nourishment, right? And I'm not saying that children cannot have something fun once in a while, but we're having it too often. So it's very important that parents pay attention to that, and the reason is because we've seen a lot of children. They had the school health program. We've had to have some sessions with some of the children, some of the parents, because they're picking up a lot of overweight and obesity among the children. And if these children, they talk about the stigma, the bullying, right? You're picking a team. You're outside for sports, you're picking a team. And if you're picking a team, you're looking for everyone that looks like they could run well, and that child gets left.
Yeah.
And every time this child gets left, that's not good for their psyche.
Yes.
Or people even saying things to them is not good for their psyche. So it's important for you, even for us parents, to get involved with our children. We want them to be physically active. They just had this program on physical literacy. And they had a lot of teachers, and so the PE teachers, and so there. And I thought it was such a good program because it's a program that would involve everyone, right? And it's fun. The gentleman had us actually roll a piece of paper up and just toss it among each other, and we were having so much fun, and everybody was laughing, and nobody was really looking to say, she dropped her paper, that type of thing.
But
it was
just that physical movement.
Yes, physical movement. It doesn't have to be that you go outside and run. Yeah. It doesn't have to be that. And one of the things that I would personally advocate for is when we redoing our schools, because we know outside is very hot. and we don't have gyms inside our schools. So maybe even putting, the veranda around the school, making it sizable enough so activities can be done there even when it's raining, because the rainy season, our activity level tends to go down, just like in the US, and so during the winter time, activity tends to go down because outside is cold. Yeah. So we want to have a system in Grenada where we can keep people chronically, physically active, right? We have computers now. And so we sit in front of the computer many hours of the day. And people don't think that when I'm sitting in front of the computer, maybe I can get up and do a little squats, hold on to my table and do a little squat, or stand up or walk to my neighbor down the hall instead of picking up my phone and calling the extension. Yeah. These are things to just keep us mobile. I read an article that spoke of sitting as the next cancer. Yeah. Right? Because it can interfere with so much, your circulation, your bowel activity, it can have so much impact on your spread more.
As simple as it may look.
As simple as it may look, you sit at work, and when you go home, you're so tired. You sit in front of the television again, and no part of the day is
and you
really
wonder why you're
active.
tired. You say, well, I've been sitting down, I ain't doing anything.
Exactly, but you're tired. Another thing is hydration. Yeah. When we drink in the sugary drinks and stuff, that's not hydrating us properly. So you want more and you want more, but if you're gravitating towards the sweet drinks, you're not adequately hydrated. If you're not adequately hydrated, you're going to feel tired.
All right.
Water doesn't give you energy, but it helps your body to utilize what you put in so that you can get the energy that you need to function.
Right. Ms. Brown, we can stay on this conversation all day.
Yes, I know.
Conversation of that nature, I do enjoy talking individual about, but we have to take a wrap. Anything in closing before? I know the quiz again, encourage folks to come on out and support the youngsters and so forth.
Yes, the 10th, April 10th, we have the primary school quiz. April 29th, we have the secondary school quiz, and this will be at the Youth Center. I also just want to mention that this year, 2025, the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council will be celebrating 45 years in existence. Right. So we'll be doing some celebratory things during the week of June 22nd to the 28th. So people can listen out for that. Grenada Food and Nutrition Council is probably the only surviving food and nutrition council in the region.
Really?
So I think we ought to give them a little applaud, give us a little applaud for keeping it going. We have work to do and we have improvements to make, but I think we're putting our very best foot forward to take it one day at a time, one step at a time towards providing more and more services to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martin.
All right. Once again, Ms. Brown, I want to thank you for coming on the program this morning. I want to say all the best to you and the other members of staff of the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council, and certainly hope for a successful, of course, quiz competition 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you once again. Right. Hey, folks, that's where we're going to take a wrap for this edition of the Mid-Morning Buzz here on Classic Radio GBN-TV. Join us again for another edition. That's what we say goodbye. All the best, folks. Have a good one. That's what we say goodbye for today.